Xi Jinping. And now guests will be streaming in very soon. Now you're looking at an aerial shot of Forbidden City and Tiananmen Square. Of course, the troops are now ready to march past Tiananmen to be reviewed by Chinese leaders as well as other state leaders for this 70th anniversary.
If you've just joined us, this is our special coverage of the 70th anniversary of the Victory Day of the War of Resistance against Japanese aggression, as well as the world's anti-fascism war. And CCTV News is going to broadcast live to you throughout the morning in the next 3 hours. Now we are seeing live pictures from the Tiananmen rostrum, and a position on the reviewing stand on the Tiananmen rostrum is considered the highest standard of reception for foreign dignitaries.
Today, China and the rest of the world are joining together to mark the 70th anniversary, to look back at history, of course, most importantly, to look forward to future.
Aerial shots of the Forbidden City and the palace has gone back to going forbidden for this event.
Good morning to you.
Chinese President Xi Jinping and his wife Peng Liyuan are a receiving guest, first of his course, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and his wife. But this year marks the UN 70th anniversary. It is the 69th session of the UN General Assembly. A resolution was adopted to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the end of the Second World War, urging the international community not to forget wartime sacrifices.
Walking together with foreign dignitaries and heads of international organizations attending today's parade. And this event is both celebratory and ceremonial. Most foreign dignitaries who have visited China, who have visited Beijing, are quite familiar with this ancient architecture. But again, a position on the Tiananmen rostrum to inspect the military is considered a top standard of reception for foreign guests. The last military parade of this scale was in 2009 to mark the 60th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. And this is the first time that such a military parade takes place on a date other than October 1st. That's the National Day of China.
Of course, today is to remember those who've given their lives in the Second World War. Millions of people were killed and wounded in that war. And the victory is the result of the struggle of people of all over the world. Today, we honor those who suffered for world peace. They're walking the steps up to Tiananmen rostrum, where Chairman Mao declared the establishment of the People's Republic in 1949. This is exactly the route Chairman Mao took. And this day, Chinese President Xi Jinping, together with other leaders, joined together to mark the 70th anniversary of the Second World War. The leaders agree that fascism is the common enemy of all humanity, and the anti-fascist war is the common cause of all people in the world. The war, which ended 70 years ago, was unprecedented in human history. It involved about 2 billion people in more than 80 nations across Asia, Europe, Africa, and Oceania.
China's war of resistance against Japanese aggression was an important part of the world anti-fascist war. It was the first to break out, lasted the longest, and paid the highest prices. China was a major allied country and also the major East battleground. China's military and civilian casualties reached 35 million. The fight on this front locked up the main strength of the Japanese land forces, greatly distracting Japan from the Pacific theater. And today, China will honor the veterans who fought hard in the war, veterans from the Communist Party, as well as the Kuomintang.
Well, it is an international event because as part of the Allies' plans, Chinese sent thousands of troops to Burma, as Myanmar was then known, as battle against Japanese forces in 1942. And also some Chinese soldiers were involved in Normandy landing in 1944 and the Great Patriotic War of the former Soviet Union.
September 3rd is chosen as the day to mark the end of the war against Japanese aggression. On September 2nd, 1945, the signing of the Japanese Instrument of Surrender took place on the deck of the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. It formalized Japan's unconditional surrender to China and the Allies.
Well, it's the best season of Beijing now. It's autumn, and President Xi and foreign delegations have chosen an ideal date to commemorate the war 70 years ago. They are now standing on top of Tiananmen. In a short while, they'll watch the proceedings with more than 40,000 Beijing people and representatives from all walks of life who have gathered at Tiananmen Square to witness this historic event. This is Tiananmen, where the military parade will begin in a short while. This is the capital of the People's Republic of Beijing. This is a special day for China. It's a day of the grand celebration. The city with a history of more than 3,000 years is marking Victory Day to remember China's victory in the war of resistance against Japanese aggression in the Second World War, as well as the world's triumph over fascism.
And standing now at Chang'an Avenue, the central axis of the capital, are the thousands of troops from the Chinese People's Liberation Army's 3 branches waiting for President Xi Jinping's inspection.
On September the 2nd, 70 years ago, China and the Allied countries accepted Japan's unconditional surrender. Celebrations spread nationwide the next day. And in 2014, China officially designated September the 3rd as Victory Day. In modern history, Japan actually waged two wars against China, but each had totally different outcome. In the Sino-Japanese War of 1894 to 1895, which was primarily fought on the seas, the entire Beiyang fleet, one of the Qing imperial courts, prized the naval forces